everybody. This is the voice of Agro. I'm the CEO of Splinterlands. It's a little bit bizarre. You might not know it, but CEO in this context means Chief Executive Overlord. That's what's going on my business card. It's true. I'm one of the founders here, and I like to go host these AMAs every single week and try to make sure that we can interact well and communicate with everybody in the community. It's one of the later shows. We're doing this one at 8 p.m. Eastern, so sometimes these are a little bit smaller, but for all of our colleagues overseas, it's important that we offer as many different time zones as possible. So we'll rotate through. If this is coming to you at a in opportune time, then we'll rotate around. I have a couple different guests that are going to be joining me today, and I'm excited for them. We have a little smattering of devs. We got a new person or two to introduce. We have some marketing being represented. We have some community being represented. Matt will not be on this week. We try not to keep any specific dev on the calls too long because it can be kind of a distraction from what they're doing. And a lot of the guys that do the dev work also are not like prone to doing all the social stuff. What I want to do right away is talk to one of our devs, Z416175. He's currently running a fever, and he's kind of doing me a solid by being on here. We said that he'd come on last week, so he's here this week. So normally I like to introduce everybody and do that, but I want to give him an opportunity to go hop on, answer a couple questions, give us a status report, and then hop right off because honestly, the dude needs some sleep, and I want to go support that. So Z4, you there?
Yeah. Thanks, Aggie.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I know you're sick, and I know you weren't quite planning on doing this, but we said that we do it. So I just want to do like 5 minutes, catch people up with where you're at, and then let you go on with your night, and hopefully just sleep or rest or whatever you need. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Do you want to give like a 5-second introduction and then kind of tell us what you're working on?
Sure. I am Z416175. I am a team lead for the Kron job team.
Can I just stop you right there and let you know that Cron job is like the funniest team name? Because if you guys don't know, a cron job normally stands for like something that happens in code on like a repeating time pattern. But in this case, it's a reference to Kron the Undying. So now it's a cron job, and that's just hilarious. It's like the most punny of all the names, and I love it.
I actually just bought myself a level 3 cron as well.
Nice. Fine work, sir. Well, so you're on cron job, and cron job is working on what?
So we were working on the tech modernization and the non-card market, and that will lead into land. So we're starting land as well.
So tell me, like, those seem, just like hearing that, those sound like pretty disparate things that are not at all related. Do you think that they're related, and how are they related, and why is that the mishmash that you guys are working on?
Yeah, sure. So I actually requested to come on last week after hearing Sicarius speak, and he was hitting on a lot of the things that I can hit on here. But the idea is that, to build a feature as large as land, with the current code base, we may run into some of the same problems that we've been seeing recently or that we've worked through over the past couple months. And so it seemed like an opportune time with such a large, important feature to really just do it correctly. And to be honest, in the end, it's not going to end up adding much time to what the development was, because the development in the existing code base would have been so much more complex than what it will be once we finally get the tech modernization out, and we'll just be able to work so much faster.
So I want to talk about tech modernization, but like you said a couple different projects. You said land, you said tech modernization, and you said the non-card market. Like, how are those three things related?
Sure. So the goal is to release tech modernization, and that will be kind of a rebase of some of the code base. And very shortly after that will come non-card market. What non-card market will do is in the lead up to land coming will allow you to buy and sell your land claims in game, right? And so add some liquidity for the people that hold land claims right now, and that will kind of lead us into land.
So, I guess I really want to spell this out for the audience. So so when we have to do this stuff, we have an existing code base, and it sounds like we have this new code base that we're writing. And it sounds like we have to go do a fair amount of edits to the old code base, maybe even so far as rewriting it to make it efficient. And I think that there's people that are going to ask us, why haven't you nerds been working on land this whole time? Where is it? Why isn't it here? Maybe you can go give us kind of an update on where we're at in this project. Are we starting at square one? Do you have like a blank document and you're typing in the first letters of code, or like where does this project stand?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, it's really asynchronous, and right. So all of these processes are happening at once, and they're in different stages of process. Where tech modernization is really quite complete. At this point, it's trying to get it into production, which is another reason for tech modernization, is that some of the our releases lately, we have larger things coming out with ranked rewards and with modern and wild and with the non-card market. In the current code base, we have to put those things out one by one. We have to do that synchronously, because there's merge conflicts that occur, right? And so with tech modernization, it alleviates quite a bit of that, and so that'll be nice. But we have to kind of work that in.
We're going to talk to Cryptomancer later on, and I think he's going to do a fair amount of wailing and gnashing of teeth when we are talking about like how many code changes he has to do, because his change comes after rank rewards and after, maybe, I don't know where tech modernization fits. I don't know, like in the release cycle, to me it seems like ranked is going first and modern versus wild is second. I don't know if this is this happening in parallel? Is it going to release at the same time? Like I don't quite, I'm not into every single like developer meeting, so I don't fully understand where this one sits. But
sure.
But I really like, as you're describing this, like Matt, when he was writing a lot of this code, kept tacking things on and tacking things on and tacking things on, and it meant that everything was interconnected. And it seems like this is like kind of starting from scratch and doing all the things that we learned to do, but now kind of like cleaning everything up so that they're not quite as overlapping, or there's probably a better technical word for that.
Yeah,
entangled.
Sure,
how about entangled?
No, they're not as dependent on each other. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so you said it's mostly ready, or you think that the tech modernization's like nearly done. What's the roadmap look like from here? And then how will people like experience this? What will they experience? What won't they experience? So roadmap and experience, and then I'll let you answer any, or just talk about anything you want, and then I think we got to get you off the call and get some rest.
Okay, yeah, sure. So we're gonna do ranked rewards first. That's everybody's like current goal. Like ranked rewards is going next. And then between tech modernization and modern and wild, we do currently have a few conflicts there, and we're looking at how we can maybe alleviate those behind some feature flags or something. So we could, if we need to, we could push tech modernization first, but they'll be very close to each other. They can't go in parallel exactly, but they'll be very close to each other. Otherwise, I mean, tech modernization is basically ready to go. I mean, we're tying up a few loose ends, but basically ready to go.
And what's the experience? How is this going to be different? Like, why did we spend all this time? What was like the main problem that we were trying to face? And what's a player going to get that's awesome because this is happening that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise?
Sure. So I'll try to do it at a high level, and everyone can yell at me if I use them or if you disagree. So the idea is that we wanted to be able to build in modern frameworks, really modern libraries, and And to do that, it's either patch the code into the current Splinterlands code base or do what we're doing. And for the user, what we did along the way there is we've just improved everything that we've touched. And so really right now, the things that we've touched are anything that's on the app bar, right? And so the app bar, you can think of that bar that's across the top of the app, right? And so that includes the buy DAC mode on, the buy SPS mode on, that buy credits mode on. It includes all of the user dropdowns. And all of those previously were modals that you can't deep link to, and that some of them had some tech problems, right? Like the buy DAC and buy SPS modals. They both spawn like multiple requests, right? And so, like, without going into the details of it, they take much longer to load than they really need to. And so, like, we've touched all of that up along the way, and kind of knocked a whole lot of stuff off the backlog as we've gone along here. And so, for the user, what they'll first see with tech modernization is that app bar will be different. Anything that interacts, anything that they used to pull up from that app bar will feel slightly different. It'll have mostly the same functionality. It'll be better performant, mobile responsive. It'll be a full page. And currently right now they kind of look the same. It looks like a modal embedded in a page. And you ask, why did we do that? Well, that's really so we didn't have to pull creative resources at the moment. But that's something that will happen eventually, where we design these, so we can make these pages even better, because now creative can actually design it as a full page. And that's what the user will see first.
So that just sounds like a lot of performance improvement. So that how much do you think this work will impact our scalability? It sounds like there's some proportion of this work that is dedicated to speeding up how quickly we can do future releases, and it sounds like some of it is really just like work that we are doing to make the page faster so that we could support more users. And I guess, is that how much of this is back end versus front end in
Sure.
terms of like how we're prepping for scale?
So one thing I haven't touched on, the things I've talked about so far, are really just for an individual user. It will increase the performance for an individual user. But along with the things we've been doing that I've talked about so far, we've also been doing performance updates. And you've seen a couple of those. You'll see another one tomorrow, hopefully, right? Where we're looking at some of some current issues we saw over the weekend. And my team has also been responsible for a lot of that recently, right? And so kind of we're just really going through the entire platform and improving these things as we go along. Now, some of that, like scalability, like you're talking about, that's a lot more like technical and nerdy, like doesn't sound so fun, but we are doing that work as well. And that's been starting to release. Like we've had a couple items released so far in that regard.
So I guess the question that everybody asks me over and over and over again is, when land? So let's make this the final question. What's your thought on that? When are we going to get? I know it rolls out in phases, but we've done the tech modernization. It sounds like we'll be implementing that soon. The next is going to be kind of this card, the non like summoner and monster market, and then it sounds like land is after that. Do you want to plant any kind of flag here of when you think that we can expect to actually get some visual, on the app bar, here's land, and at the very least start being able to open this stuff?
Yeah, so I think any developer will tell you we're really super skeptical of estimates. I think the broad estimate right now is like Q3. I think that's pretty accurate. And you're going to see it soon, though. Like, it's coming. So, like, creative is already working on it. We're already architecting it out. It's in process. It's happening now, and we're going to get it to you guys as quickly as we can.
Yeah, what has been so frustrating about blockchain development, from my experience, is that anything you want to do normally has like 6 different codes things you have to develop before you can even do the thing you want to do. Like, and this is why we're still in like freaking boss fights. Like, why is boss fights taking forever? Well, you need to go build this and you have to build that. And then after you build that, we have to do this, support it, add this thing, feature change. And then then maybe eventually we'll be ready to go put this thing in. And it really feels like that with land too, that land is not just like, okay, here's an interface for land. It's like, how the hell are we going to go have an interface for land that can scale to all the people that we think are going to be drawn into the game with this? So, which is a bunch. And hopefully we have done this in such a way that maybe it took a little longer for feature development, but ultimately when this thing rolls out, I'm sure there'll be a couple bugs to start, but ultimately it should be smooth and have, quite a bit of runway for growth. Does that sound right?
So I think that's a big takeaway here, right? Is where, previously you may have seen features come out where, we push a feature over the wall and then we have to spend a lot of time improving that feature. While land will be released in phases, I think that it's going to be, you can expect it to be relatively smooth.
Awesome.
And I'm super excited about it. I'll tell you what, I'm telling you the scale is impressive, and it's a large feature, and that takes time, but it's really exciting. And the only thing I'm disappointed about is that I kind of got into the Splinterlands ecosystem after land already increased in price, and I have like 2 land plots, and I'm working on it. I would love to have more,
You are not prepared.
Yeah, so I'm working on that, but so that's really disappointing. But yeah, so I'm trying to buy into what I'm building myself.
Awesome. All right. Well, I don't want to keep you any longer than that. Thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate you being here, and I hope you feel better. And just I'm grateful that you're here. Grateful that you're working on this team, and I'm really excited because we're gonna use the modernized tech over and over and over again to try to deploy everything faster. So this is one of the things that I am personally most anticipating. Not because it's a feature that will like immediately impact everybody, but because it's like the last. I don't know if it's the last, but I really think it's a major key to unlocking us on the dev team to be able to shift gears to be able to ship code even faster. Does that sound right?
100%. It's really going to make a big impact.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Z, and get some rest. And I'm glad you're here.
All right. Thanks, Aggie. Take care, guys.
We just heard from one dev. Why don't we go hop to another? So, Cryptomancer, I'm emotionally preparing myself for wailing and gnashing of teeth. So, you're working on the Modern versus Wild. We spoke a little bit about this, but we have rank rewards coming. We have tech modernization, and you're somewhere in here, like with a code base that I think is largely done, but is ultimately having lots of dependencies because the damn tech modernization hasn't rolled out yet, so that everything is interdependent and you're like stuck trying to make changes as they make their changes because everything is entangled. Have I described that situation correctly?
Yep, that is an excellent summary, Aggie. That's exactly where we're at. So the code for Modern and Wild is actually finished, and I've done a bit of testing on it myself. But what we need to do now is kind of integrate all the other changes that people are working on into the Modern and Wild code base so that it all works seamlessly together. So we got a bit of a scheduling dilemma here. So we want ranked rewards to go first, but ranked rewards in turn is going to have a big impact on Modern and Wild. So I need to do what's called refactoring, which means changing some of the code so that it will play nice with the new ranked reward system.
Do you have a sense of how big of a project that is? Is this like, oh, I need to spend an afternoon? Or you're like, oh God, my 3 months of work are wasted and I hate everybody here. I have to redo the whole thing.
So it's not like I have to throw everything out from scratch and redo it. It's not that bad. It's more like making minor changes here and there. Just going through the code, seeing what effect and what impact ranked rewards has on things, and then adjusting appropriately. But that all does take a bit of time. So we're looking at probably 2 to 3 weeks worth of effort for that.
If you were to print out the Modern versus Wild code base, how long is that? Is it like 10 pages, 100 pages, 1,000 pages? Like, what size book do you think this is? Is it like George Martin and one of his Game of Thrones books, or is this Harry Potter? Is this like, I don't know, Goodnight Moon? Like, how big is this thing?
Let's see. Last time I checked, it impacted something like around 70 odd source files and had several thousand lines of code changes. So it's kind of it's like a big tentacled octopus monster. It's got its tentacles kind of spread out throughout the game in lots of different sections and areas, and it touches on a lot of things that at first you might not even think are related to the core functionality of Modern and Wild. So it's all those interdependencies that do make this merge process a bit more difficult. So, like Z was talking about, we're hoping that tech modernization will help with a lot of that sort of thing in the future.
A lot of this stuff often comes down to creative, right? So, like, I'm still spitballing and still learning a lot about project management and time. For like a free to play game, my brain says that it's something like 80% creative for the time and 20% development. And my sense for blockchain games is that it's a little bit more skewed. It's something like 60% creative, 20% for like back end dev work, and then there's like another 20% that's really like various forms of crypto work that has to happen. So that it's much, overall, it's more like 60-40 dev instead of like 80-20. How where's like creative at? Are you guys waiting for anything on them? Are they totally done and like, now you guys are just really tweaking code? Or like are you still waiting for 10 more screens because it impacts everything?
I think the creative team has been absolutely fantastic all throughout this process. They've already gotten me all the screens and designs that I need for the initial rollout of Modern and Wild. And after that initial rollout, later on, there's going to be some more advanced UI work. There's going to be some additional graphics and animations and things that get worked in. But that will be kind of a follow-up project. So you'll see things evolve a bit after the initial release.
And,
But as
and
far as
just
that initial release, we're good to go as far as creative assets.
in just one or two bullet points, can you sum up the problem with the current rank reward system? What's wrong?
Well, I think the big thing right now is that it doesn't encourage consistent, frequent play. I mean, you get on there, you do your daily quest, and then you're done. That's it. You might stop for the day and then wait for the next daily quest. The new rank reward system will make it so that you want to keep playing more often. You're not just gonna do your daily quest and be done. You're gonna be like, oh, if I play a little bit more, I can get to the next chest. I just need a few more reward shares, and it's gonna contribute more to that just one more battle kind of feeling. So
And you know
that's
what game? You know what game
what,
killed that? Civilization.
yeah.
Civilization and the like, just one more turn. That was like the most addictive. I'd be like 4 a.m. or 4:30, and I'd be like, you know what? I can squeeze in one more turn. I'm so close to this like monument or I don't know. Those guys killed it for that. Yeah. So and if all this stuff goes super well, what do you think? What do you think players will experience that is going to be like the best? The top three benefits to players that comes out of all the Modern and Wild work and all the all the poor refactoring that my buddy Mancer has to do.
I think one of the top benefits is people are gonna be making more rewards. So I think we're gonna see some of the rewards maybe taken away from some of the elements that are leeching them out of the ecosystem right now and given back to the people who are really playing the game, the core players. Um,
Well,
and
you
with the
say
mod,
that, but I can already hear the community yelling at me. Hey, if we have to play more games, that's going to favor bots, right? Bots can play all day. I can't. If you make me play more, it's just going to favor bots. Do you want to respond to that line of thinking and help me talk through why that's not the case?
so the main thing we have to guard against that is the ECR. I mean, the more games you play, the more your ECR drains, and the less rewards you make as a result of that. So, I mean, if you have a bot that plays like 1,000 battles a day, that bot's ECR is going to be very, very low, and they're not going to be making much for each individual battle. versus a person that maybe plays 30 battles in a day and keeps their ECR high and then makes more per battle. And when we go to the modern and wild, we're still just going to have one ECR that's shared between the modern and the wild formats. So you don't need to be thinking, oh God, I suddenly need to play twice as many games. No, you don't. You need what you should do is really think about where are you more comfortable? Is your deck more suited to the wild format, or do you have mostly newer cards? Can you play better in the modern format? So it'll give you more choice, but it will not force you to play an uncomfortable amount.
All right. So you said that we were going to be able to do more rewards, and how does that work? Right? Like if we do more rewards, the crypto savvy among us are going to say, well, if you increase inflation, you're going to decrease value. That's kind of the other main objection that I hear and see in Nav chat and general chat. Like, how do we respond to that? Oh,
That sorry.
You were muted for a second, or I couldn't hear, but now I can. Please go on.
One of the ways that we're dealing with that is introducing more syncs for things. So we've got a lot of items coming up on the roadmap. We've got the Rift Watchers expansion as an SPS sync. We've got the validators. We've got all these things. We could be expanding the guild store in the future. There will be more things to do with your DEC and your SPS. And that will give more utility to those tokens and be a big driver for value, I think.
Awesome. All right, I've asked a whole bunch of questions. Did I miss anything? Anything else that you want to kind of add to the project?
I'd like to share a little bit of eye candy just so you can see.
Ooh, that's my favorite.
Yep. So I'm going to show you what some of the tournament screens look like. And I already shared this in Mav's chat a while back, but some of you may not have seen it. So let me put this in here. So modern and wild tournaments. If you click on this, you'll see that in the tournament list, some of the tournaments are now labeled wild and some of them are labeled modern. And there's a new filter that you can use to filter by just wild tournaments or just modern tournaments. And by default, it shows all. And when tournament creators go to create a new tournament, they're going to see a new option here, a game mode. So you will create your tournament as either a modern tournament or a wild tournament. It will be one or the other. And then on the tournament details screen, you'll also be able to see the difference. It will look something like this. So this is an example of a modern tournament with all modern cards playable.
I mean, if you have swagger, doesn't that make you like pure elite in this Discord?
It certainly does. Part of the fun of building all this stuff is getting to enjoy testing it out.
Awesome. Okay. Well, anything else you want to add before we have one more developer? So I'm doing the trifecta here. Anything else you want to add? I mean, this looks great. It sounds great. My main fear is you'll get too frustrated refactoring all this stuff, but it doesn't sound too onerous if it's only a couple of weeks. But
that's all part of the job. So, yep, nothing else really that I want to add. Just to say that it's going to be a very exciting next couple months coming up with these big things coming out. It's going to be a great summer for Splinterlands.
Yeah, there's so much stuff coming out. It's just night and day. I mean, going to Agile with 4 different teams, and then having the like new code base. I don't know. It's sick. It's just going to be constant. Just constant improvements, and the more that, or the less coupled they are, the like faster I think we can go. And do you want to share your team's name? Do you want to say what that team is?
I am the Dark Eternals team, named after my favorite Splinter, the Death Splinter.
Excellent. All right. Well, we heard from Cron Job, we heard from Dark Eternals, and now we have one more team. We haven't this. I don't think that this dev has been on air with us. So I'm going to invite Antiosh here, and just want to say a big thanks to Cryptomancer. Glad you're here. Glad you work on this. I mean, you maybe I actually don't know at this point if you've contributed more to the code base or Matt, but you're definitely in one of the top contributors to this base, and we are grateful that you work here. Okay, Antiosh, are you there?
Hi. Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. You sound funny. Are you from Oklahoma?
No, no, I'm from New Zealand.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, but,
So which team are you on?
I'm with the Rapid Development Team, or our internal team name is Dragon Riders. So I think there was a few of us on from that team that was on last week. So that was Zacharias and Farpatrode.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of new devs that seem to have joined that team and are working on a whole bunch of stuff. It's fun to see the growth over there. Which part of the code base are you working on these days?
Yeah, so I've only been on full time for about 3 weeks. So yeah, the team has been growing quite rapidly. But yeah, when I started on, I was just doing a few of the minor fixes, such as improving the tournament filters and adding the acknowledgeable button for the gift notification. But more recently, we've all in the team been pretty much fully focused on the new rank reward system. So yeah, I just as Cryptomancer was talking about it, I had a quick look, and we've got about 70 files changed and about 7,000 lines of code changed. So yeah, hopefully that doesn't cause too much.
Nuts. You're gonna drive them nuts. Poor guy.
Sorry about that, Cryptomancer, but yeah, that's the state of things. But yeah, it's been great so far.
Losing that coin toss is such a pain in the butt, because it did seem like that could have gone either way with rank rewards or the or Mono vs. Wild going first. But yeah, so fortunate for you guys. So what as you, I guess how hard was it to sort of like get your hands into this code base? Because it's not, this is not Goodnight Moon. This is like thousands of lines of code. How the hell you even like get started in that?
Yeah, I think the thing is to just focus on small pieces at a time. So that's the good thing about the rapid development team. We've been getting like small fixes here and there. So we just go in and look at that one particular place and learn that place before moving on to the next, rather than having to try and absorb and learn everything all in one go, because that would be pretty much impossible. I've only been on for 3 weeks, but there'll still be so much more for me to learn around all the different pieces.
Have you even been able to like read the entire code base once, or is it really just focused on just the one piece at a time?
Yeah, so when I first joined, I had a quick overview, like just skim over things. So I wouldn't say I've read the whole thing, because there's just way too much to go there. So what I tend to do is just when I get a task, I'll just focus in on that one particular area that I need to look at and get familiar with that.
How have you done blockchain development before doing this?
No, I haven't. So yeah, before working here, I was just at a power company in New Zealand, so just doing standard, just web front end, so nothing blockchain related. So it has been quite cool to come in and learn all this new stuff.
Yeah, how different is it? Like a lot of the way that Matt will talk about this stuff is that it's sort of like, instead of going to your internal centralized database, you're using this public hard drive. Is it as simple as that, or do you really feel like, it's almost like you're back in grad school or college and really trying to learn this stuff again?
I mean, I think the benefit of coming in at this time is that a lot of the foundation has already been put in place by Matt and Cryptomancer and all the other devs. So I haven't had to like learn and look too much into the blockchain side of things. I can just look at the existing code and reuse existing code rather than having to figure out all the stuff from scratch. Because I imagine it would have been actually quite hard for Matt and Cryptomancer when things were starting out to just figure all this out. But now that they've done that, I think coming in, it's not as bad for new devs, I'd say, just because there's so much foundation to build upon.
Yeah, I mean, so much of dev work really seems like finding the right code to steal, put into your project, and make it work in a similar fashion. And so when you're Matt staring at like really nothing like this existing in the universe, then it's, you really need just an absolute Matt who like puts their full time, full heart, full understanding, and like 30 years of code into this. And then hopefully now that like a lot of the procedures and starting points are developed, I'm hoping that not everybody has to be like that hardcore into crypto, that sophisticated as a coder, and that we have just ways to guide people in a way that just didn't exist in 2018.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what the guys have done. So yeah, it's really great to just sort of come in and work on top of that rather than having to figure this all out myself. Because I don't know if I'd be up to the challenge.
So for the ranked reward stuff, like what are you excited about there? That's a lot of changes, and I've heard a couple opinions about this so far. Like what to you is the biggest deal about it, and how do you think that players will experience those changes?
Yeah, I think Cryptomancer touched on this a bit. I think it's the fact that, because as a player myself, I come in, I usually just try to win my five daily quest battles, and then I'm kind of out. But with this, there's gonna be a kind of incentive to be like, oh, should I play a bit more? I can reach this next chest, and then once you reach that chest, maybe I'll play a bit more to reach the next chest. So the way it's going to be working is it's going to be scaling off. So the next chest will always require more battles than the previous one. But yeah, there'll be some sort of balance between, oh, should I play more or should I be done for the day? So I think that'll be the biggest change.
So what's determining how many chests I'm going to earn in this new system? Like maybe not like I don't need like a reward shares calculation, but like what's the major thing that determines it?
Yeah, so most of the calculations and stuff was done by Pluck and Matt. So I'd probably leave it to them to talk on more. But essentially, it's just each chest requires a certain amount of reward shares, and then each subsequent chest will require like a proportion more than the previous one. So it's just scaling up slightly every time.
So if I'm like champion 1, is there a minimum number of chests I can win? And then if I'm champion 1, is there a maximum number of chests I can win?
Yeah, so I think what it looks to me from these new changes is it looks like every tier will actually be able to receive the same amount of chests, the same minimum and maximum. I'm not exactly sure the exact maximum, but the idea is that if you're on bronze, you can still earn a lot of chests, but the rewards in the chest will just be not as good as the chest that you would earn if you're in champion.
Yeah, that's what I remember, and that's what was driving me nuts. Of like, so many people complain, I win one chest. What the hell am I doing here? Why? Like, this isn't even fun. It's like getting paid to play with like no collection is like it just wasn't exciting enough with just the one. So do you think that this is going to encourage new players to like get a little bit more excited in terms of like what they're earning and what it looks like?
Yeah, I really hope so. I just remember when I was first starting out at the game and really like grinding to get my daily chest done, and then opening one chest and it had like one DEC. I was like, oh, all that effort just for that. So hopefully this new structure will make that experience a lot better, so you can actually open a lot of chests and feel like you've earned more rewards from doing your daily chest grind.
Awesome. I want to get over to some of the like marketing side of the team. Anything else that is on your brain that you kind of want to share with us, or did I miss any key point?
Not much at this time. I'll just say that we're coming really close to the development end of the new rank reward system. So hopefully this week or early next week, we'll be doing some internal QA, and then after that, we'll be opening up for the mavs to playtest it, and then after that, then we'll be going live. So yeah, hopefully in a few weeks it should be out.
And then I guess this is your first time on the show. So is there anything that you want to share personally about what makes this makes this cool, or what you're excited about, or like, why'd you join a crypto company? Presumably you could have done front end development work for lots of stuff. What made Splinterlands a good fit for you, and why do you like this project and what you're coding?
Yeah, so as I think a lot of the other team members, I've been an avid gamer. I played Hearthstone back in the day. I played Magic. So yeah, just being able to be a developer for a game company is a really awesome opportunity. And also, I've been listening onto a lot of the town halls in the past, and hearing your vision of peace, prosperity, and freedom has been really like awesome and inspiring. So just it's like a alignment of like lots of goals of just working for a cool company that also can hopefully make a good impact on the world.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that resonates. That's really what drives me every single day to do this. And I take flack. You guys you couldn't even imagine how much flack I take. And if we're successful, it means that we're going to grow another 10x. And if we do, it means that the amount of flack I'm going to take is 10x. But here I am. And people were asking me like, why are you with Tank? HTT, maybe you can go post my image of what my character is. And they're like, why are you with Tank? And it's like, it's because I take so much crap. You guys have zero idea. But yeah, I love it here. This is a mission. I'm glad that it resonates with you, and I'm stoked to be here. And I'm glad that it resonates, and I'm glad you're here. Thanks for working with us.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for having me and helping provide this opportunity.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, so I kind of want to start. We got ourselves a WeirdBeard. So this is a very awkward transition to go from all things dev to all things marketing and community. And we're gonna stick with Splinterlands stuff for a second, and then sort of towards the end, we're gonna go move away from Splinterlands and talk about some of the other things that we have in development and what we're working on. But in the meantime, WeirdBeard, do you want to give like a real quick intro? I think most people know you now, but it never hurts to do a quick intro and then kind of tell us what you're up to and what we can expect.
Hello, my name is WeirdBeard. I do tournaments in esports. Makes it really easy. If there's competition, I'm involved. I had no hand in the Brawl update that just went out, but moving forward, I'd also like to be able to be more involved. And we're putting together plans on what we're looking for essentially anything that's like you and another player are playing against each other type of thing.
And then aren't we done? We did tournaments, we did brawls. What's left? I mean, we nailed it all. It's all out there, and I never have to touch the code base again.
I promise you, there are many people in the chat that do not think that I've done a good job with tournaments right now.
Oh, no. What happened?
I mean, tournaments is always in a sticky place, right? Because we have essentially a set pool of tournament prizing, and people always want it for different levels, right? Like people in small tournaments want more tournaments that are easier to get into with less SPS staked, and to not reward tournaments of higher levels. Whereas there's like higher level players that go, you've gotten rid of all of the diamond tournaments. You've gotten rid of all of the champion levels tournaments. If you get rid of alpha tournaments, you get rid of the reason we hold on to the cards. So it's like, we're always kind of pissing somebody off. And that's a fine place to be in. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not mad at it. I'm happy with what we've done, but it's also, when you say we've done it, like tournaments as it is going to be hitting that project that I've been alluding to for, I don't know, like a month and a half now. And it's slowly like a baby being coming to fruition. So I'm it's a large marketing initiative that we're spending literally a month and a half putting together and doing for not only this new cool unveiled thing, but also like the marketing behind it. We want to be able to unveil something new and make a big splash when we do it too. So it's like not only doing the tournaments that we have now, trying to update those, but also working forward and promoting for this new thing.
Okay.
It's okay. We're good.
When do you think it'll go live, or what? I mean, I know it's still kind of cryptic in terms of what you're even talking about, but when does this month and a half old project kind of unveil itself?
So we are hoping at the end of the month, and we're finally like here's the best thing, the best non-cryptic thing I can say. We have gotten through the like planning stage, like the you know, brick by brick figuring out what we're doing and how do we do it, and how do we make this a thing. Like that's always really tough to get through, and that's like 95% done. So we're almost at the stage where it's like hands-on work, get this thing out the door. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I think that like the way that a lot of the team has talked about ranked rewards and the changes coming to that, I think what we're also talking about on the tournament side are going to like bring about the same kind of like level of energy and excitement on what we're doing. And also like it comes back to like we're really looking forward to, you know, the modern wild changes, because that's going to impact the way that we do tournaments. You know, a lot of the stuff that we do now is triaging, like it's trying to make it as painless as possible for right now, because there's all these changes happening. So like it's always a interesting place to be where like the answer is yes, you're right on a complaint about something, but we're not going to do anything about it right now because ranked rewards and modern wild are going to change so many things that like it's playing with a house of cards at the moment. You don't need to shuffle the deck chairs too much when everything's going to change.
Yeah, I mean that. Honestly, I think that's one of like your gig, especially in tournaments, is one of like the hardest gigs I think we have with like customer facing stuff. There's nobody else that has to take that much flack over that much money over that long of a period of time. That's just, and that's one of the, honestly, like the amount of complaints and fighting and bickering over tournament rewards is one of the reasons why we went hard into let's do all this validator stuff. Let's get all this governance stuff. Stop asking Uncle Aggie, hey, Uncle Aggie, can you make this tournament richer for me? And it's like, you know, I'm doing the best I can. I'm just one dude. I have like 50 different responsibilities around here. And, you know, this is the way it's going to be for the next month because there's no other way that I can do it. So,
and I don't want to complain too much. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I love my job. I love the people, even that don't like me. Thank you so much for keeping me employed. But like a lot of it is, like trying to find creative solutions that are not just like, whatever, I don't care, here it is. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, we want to get more tournaments overall, right? Like it's about expanding that overall prize pool. But that doesn't just come by itself. Like a lot of it is working with Robbie, our partnerships manager, to bring in like outside tournament sponsors. So it's not just Splinterlands putting up and increasing prize pools. It's working with making sure that you know, we're preparing ourselves to be able to not have the apple cart flipped when we start talking about like, hey, I really want to expand whitelisting and allowing, you know, more people to be able to create tournaments without that tournament creation fee. But then we also have like on the back end to where tournaments only have like, you can only run so many consecutive tournaments at the same time. So like if everybody got whitelisted that wants to get whitelisted, we couldn't even make official tournaments. Or like there was a, you know, a mention today about how one of the diamond tournaments fell on the end of season. And it's like that. I hate that. That sucks. But like, we're on a rigid schedule. I'm not planning that to like screw over diamond level players or anything like that. So it's like, there's a lot of threads being pulled at the same time. And also, like I said, we've secured dev time for a couple of tournament things coming up here. While we're under the hood, I'm hoping that I can like beg and plead with whatever I need to do to get some of the extra like quality of life changes in there. But it's just a lot of it is so much like, because tournaments has a lot of ticky-tack little things, it's actually harder to fix than like one big problem. Because the one big problem, you can be like, oh, this is huge, we have to go in and do this, and this is what it looks like. Whereas with tournaments, it's like, I want to be able to make a filter that shows like official tournaments made by Splinterlands. But to even like bug somebody about that, right? They're like, I have all this other stuff I'm doing, and you're annoying me about the UI right now. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
I had the biggest deadline ever in my career, and you're asking me about filters? Filters? Have you even considered my emotional state? I totally get it.
And it's like, it's very, and the other thing too is like with tournaments, right? I could just go live on an island and like only show up when I create the tournaments and be like, all right, jerks, here's your stuff, go play. But a lot of it is trying to make sure that like I'm super involved with marketing so that when we drop these new big tournament announcements that are coming, like we want to have a marketing plan behind it. I want to make sure that we can fit into the dev schedule. I want to make sure that we can go through security so that when we start talking about like, hey, a lot of tournaments are about to be KYC'd. How do we get it so that, you know, if you have 10,000 people that come in and want KYC accounts, we don't crash tournaments for 3 weeks. Like a lot of it is just such a like painful, this is my face right now. It's such a painful balancing act to try to like, I no matter what I do, I piss off somebody and that's okay. And I'm accepting of that. But like the big overall thing is that from where tournaments are today to where they were 2-3 months ago is a step in the correct direction, I think. And when we do finally unveil the project that we've been working on, I think it's going to finally make sense of why I can't just be like, oh yeah, we're going to get right on that and fix that problem, because we're already doing a lot of them, but it takes time. Like I can't just snap my fingers and, you know, do it. It's even like one of the common things that always gets floated in the tournaments channel is, well, why can't we put a CP cap on, you know, different levels so that people can't enter in? And then it's like, and then literally within 5 minutes, people are like, oh yeah, there's this problem, and then this problem, and then this problem, and this problem. It's not, you know, like as easy as, oh, you know, just do it, forehead. Like, why didn't you think of that?
Oh my God.
There's
I'm
a lot of
guilty
people that are
too.
there's a lot of people that are smarter than me that I constantly will like screenshot issues and be like, can we fix this? And they go, no, here's the, you know, 12-page hacked MD doc on why you're stupid for suggesting that. And, you know, like, I think nothing is like, the big thing too, is that people are starting to feel the pain of us flattening payout structures. Like we haven't reduced the number of tournaments. We haven't really reduced the overall, like how much we're paying out, just based off of like, after we reduce the CP and SPS, and everybody's like, why you're not running as many tournaments? It's like, no, we are. It's just they're flatter payout structures so that we're not like getting tons of return pay in, you know, because we have to put up that money every single time. Or like other times it's just, it looks like you're earning less, but because we dropped the CP and SPS staking mechanic, like that reflects it. It's also the price of SPS going up and down. Like there's so many things that are just like pains in my ass that I wish I could just be like, I don't know.
So good to hear all this. This has been my life for like a year. And like honestly, when I heard you speak the first time, I'm like, this is the first person that I've met that I think can actually handle this. That isn't me. So I am so glad that you're here, because there's exactly zero part of me that wants to be doing this. And like honestly, I don't even really want you doing it. I want this to be like community driven. You know, like let's put this stuff out to votes for SPS, which is why I'm like, come on, Matt, let's get these validators out.
I want to be like, one of the biggest things is people talking about alpha tournaments all the time. You know, they're always in there talking about alpha tournament rewards. I don't own any cars. I don't care. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's not not like I don't care, but like it doesn't personally impact me. So that's not a thing, but it's like, I can't unilaterally make a decision like that. That's a DAO thing. You know, that's players getting involved and being able to speak for what tournaments need to be played and where they need to be played. And, you know, like I will say that here's the little tidbit I'll give. We're talking a tournament mode. That's the most I can give. But when I say a tournament mode, it's like, it's going to be a thing and it's going to be supported. And like, so I'm really hoping that players are excited as excited as I am. And the people that have, you know, complaints, please keep them coming. Like that's the lifeblood for me, because I want to know all of the issues and pain points that players are going through so that I can fix them, because that's why I'm here.
I mean, you just gave a rundown of like all of my heartache for like a year talking about tournaments, and to have another person I think really understands it and then like taking care of it, and it's not my baby. What a blessing!
Not my baby.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here and that this is no longer my baby.
Yeah, I mean,
like it's in good hands.
And the other thing too, I have to say, is like, we're so close to getting a giant like tournament sponsors and making this bigger than it is already. And like, that may have sounded ranty, and I promise I'm not trying to rant, because it's like for every negative that I interact with, I get to deal with 10 really cool people that are excited about tournaments, excited about entering into new things that we're doing. I still haven't gotten through. I put out a ping in the Mavs chat like 2 weeks ago. I'm still literally climbing through Discord DMs about it still. Because there's just so many people that are excited about getting involved and doing this new stuff. Like, I think that in the next 2 months, the changes that are going to be happening, not just in tournaments, are going to render a lot of the issues people are facing kind of moot. So until then, it's just like I have to keep it pushing, like continue expanding tournaments for newer players, continue to make it so that there's an incentive for players to go up the tournament ladder so you don't just stay at bronze and try to farm bronze and silver, make an environment where people are excited to enter into tournaments earlier, and also make it so that people understand tournaments, how they exist, what you need to be able to enter, and adjust those like entry fees to make it so that it's not a barrier to entry. If I continue doing those things, like we're going to be fine.
Nice. Yeah. I got nothing else to add. Anything else you want to add before I move on to Bulldog?
I don't know. I can't say anything.
Do the thing.
No.
Do it.
Listen, I've spent a month and a half trying to get. No, I'm not shooting myself in the foot. All I'll say to the community is that one, I will have later tonight, because I was working on it today, a list of all the tournaments. I know that we changed the naming conventions so that like people that have been used to what has been happening for 3 years are now like, you don't have tournaments. We have them. I'm going to get a nice doc put in the tournaments Discord that you can go and check. That's going to have all the tournaments, entry requirements, how much they pay out. Boom. The other thing too, though, is that please, if you are experiencing problems, come and rant in the tournaments Discord. If you put it in general and you're making fun of me, I don't see it. Put it in the tournaments Discord. I love talking to people. We're one of the most active channels in there.
All right. But it's just, what is it actually called? It's not tournaments Discord. It's not like it's a separate Discord. It's a channel.
It's the channel.
And it's got the lightning bolt and tournaments, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Well, awesome. I'm stoked that you're here. Thanks for taking this off my plate. I look for people that I can punt projects to and just know that they'll be in good hands. And WeirdBeard, you've killed it. And I'm stoked. So thanks for doing it. And I don't know. Glad you're here. Thanks for taking care of it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. We got 2 more folks to come on, and then I'll start diving into questions. We got ourselves a Bulldog. Bulldog, I don't think you necessarily need an intro, given how outward facing you are, but maybe you can kind of come on and just give us an introduction, tell us who you are and what you're doing.
Yeah, so I'm Bulldog. I'm the community manager here. A lot of you have seen me on Discord, seen me streaming, seen me all over the place. Managing Discord, doing all sorts of things. Whenever they hired me on, so Aggie's been talking about all the flack that he takes and everything. Whenever I was interviewing for this, they basically said your role is like, if we're describing this in the fantasy setting, you're like the tank, and you have to take some of that flack so the devs can go do their thing. So that's kind of what we try to do a little bit, except for WeirdBeard, who just decides to jump in on his own and be his own little tank there. But yeah, so hopefully we've been able to take some of that flack away from you and just kind of interact with the community, give the community a place to basically a team member to interact with, and kind of be a bridge between the dev team and the community, and pass along feedback or problems or whatever the issues are.
What do you think, if you had to like rank the top 3 things that general chat talks about and the top 3 things that you see in Mav chat, like what are the biggest concerns overall from the community that's out there?
I think so. It's the top 3, and I feel like number 1's pretty easy. Number 1 would be bots. I feel like that's a recurring argument that sometimes gets pretty heated. That happens quite a bit. So I feel like that's bots. Tournaments would be another one. WeirdBeard kind of talked about that a little bit. That's a hot topic. I don't know. After that, there's. I feel put on the spot. I can't. I should be able to think of plenty more.
Yeah,
but
no. There's plenty in just bots to sort of talk through. So, do you feel like the community has a united feeling about bots, and everybody, or like some super majority of people, are saying this is what we want done, or do you feel like it's more nuanced than that, or what do you Like in terms of bots, like, you know, the company position is something like, look, this is meant to be a decentralized game. And you can't have a decentralized game and then also have a centralized entity saying you can play and you can't. So that's kind of like where me and Matt land, and we're, you know, have enough shares to direct this company. But, you know, we still want to listen to other people and like include a lot of voices. You know, that's where we've landed as a company. You know, what's the community saying? And you know, how strongly do you think people are saying it?
I think you're well, and there's different types of players when you talk about the community, because there's, I mean, you've got some of like your most active players that are very invested in the game, and I think a lot of people that really understand everything understand the value of decentralization and even the value that bots can bring. In general, your average player and your casual player, maybe that's not even on Discord or more that's not even in the community actively, like every day in Discord and that type of thing, just really hates bots. That seems to be kind of a consensus, but then they like, it's one of those things where people complain about it, but they don't really understand all the details, the values of decentralization. Okay, if you're going to ban bots, how do you ban bots? How would you even go in and determine who's a bot, who's not? You'd have to spend a lot of dev resources.
Like, you guys want like an Aggie tribunal? Like, okay, go before the overlord and let him decide whether you and your brother can play the same account or if he deems you a bot. Like, you know, do you really want me deciding that? You guys have been complaining about me at various levels for years. Like, do you really want Uncle Aggie deciding who can and who can't play? Because that's the kind of thing that this comes down to. Or maybe we just like let the community decide. All right, it's not going to be aggro. It's going to be just centralized. Who's going to be banned? We're going to ostracize you, and when we ostracize you, we're going to take away all your cards too. Like, is that what you guys want? Are you sure about that?
Well, and right now you also have one of the other big complaints is about matchmaking and not being able to find enough people at a rating closest to you. And it's like, well, if you take out all of the bots, you realize matchmaking's just you're gonna have to spread out even further to find people. So you get people complaining about opposite ends of spectrums there. But then there's also other debates with bots for things that I think, like, for example, the win trading and things like that we just had an update to try and help fix and that type of thing. And there are some things I think.
Any results from that? Do you think that it's altered anything by having that in? Any preliminary feedback?
I mean, there's still like it definitely seems like it's still happening. I don't know to the degree. I don't have any data on that or anything like that, but I know people have definitely presented some cases where you can follow these bot networks around and see they're clearly like whenever they're designed, so whenever
even after the changes.
Correct.
All right.
Like you can say that
we should probably dig into that. That part of botting is definitely not cool. Like anybody that's using bots in some exploitive way, you know, I don't mind if they're like playing matches every day. That's what you're supposed to do. But if you're like rigging matches all day, okay, now you're effed and we have to fight this.
Yeah, so they basically have algorithms. So I mean, if you have more than one account, it's designed so when they come up against each other, whichever one is going to be better off with the win, they give that one the win, whether it's because they're on a win streak or they have a higher ECR or they're just a higher rating or things like that.
Do you think that
so those are kind of designed
changes will be enough to alter that and the pathway out of that?
I think it's going to make it, well, I mean, it depends, because hopefully with these rewards, you actually have fewer of these accounts and there'll be more incentive instead of running 1,000 bot accounts to run fewer accounts at a higher level.
Yeah.
So hopefully that will happen. But if with the same accounts, I think my concern is that is regarding the quest. So, and I think this, like, we had a discussion on this on Discord the other day. I think it's one of the questions coming towards the end, but it's hard to win. Like when you're playing ranked battles, it's harder to win towards your quest than it is just win the match in general.
Yeah.
So if there's going to be more focus on winning towards a quest, that's something where if you're win trading, that becomes more beneficial when you can not only win but win with your quest. So I think, I mean, those are already fixes that are in process, but I think those will be important to get done with the new reward system.
Somewhere between my longest running joke and my maybe most prescient understanding of the crypto community goes something like, there's only there's only two complaints in crypto. The first complaint is, I would like to earn more money for less time and less work, like less money spent and less time and effort on my behalf. And the second is, so and so is a jerk. That's my PG version on air. It's actually Bernie Sanders as a bleepity bleep bleep bleep. Those are the only two complaints in crypto. You know, I want more for less, and I want and that guy's a jerk. Like it. Do you feel like that's part of this bot discussion? It, like at its core, does that apply here? That it's just, you know, a bunch of people angry that somebody else is getting rewards that they're not, or do you feel like there's more to it than just that, like, emotional, why does that person get to make more money than me?
I mean, there's certainly some of that. I think there's a lot of people that are not. I mean, even myself, I couldn't go design a bot and make a bot or do anything like that if I wanted to. So I'd have to pay to use somebody else's. And I think that's some of that's the case, but yeah, I think a lot of it's just in for a lot of people, it's they don't want to be playing against bots. They want to play against other people. So it's more about the game aspect than anything else.
But
I would also, for tournaments, add in that it's very important. It's very important to make sure, like, with all the stuff that we're doing of looking to go to the wider gaming pool of everything, is like people have to be confident that there's no cheating, right? Like, just as from an optics perspective, like bots may not be cheating in the classical sense, but like outside normal, you know, everyday gamers would go, oh, that's cheating. So it's like it's a lot of, I think, not even just like the act of it, but it's like the messaging of it, you know what I mean, like how people see it, type of a thing.
Yeah, my feelings around like cheating are very different. Anything that's like, you know, I don't want to be the arbiter of, you know, can this account play or can that one not. But if an account is like routinely rigging things, first off, we should fix whatever they're doing to rig it so that it's either harder or impossible. And if for some reason we can't, those are accounts that, like, oh yeah, let's go. I don't care if they're bots or not. People that are rigging, we should take those dudes down. So how to do that, you know, is a sophisticated question, because I really don't want to end up in a situation like one of our competitor games where they banned like freaking hundreds of thousands of dollars of assets. You know, there's got to be more sensible ways to do it than that. But yeah, trying to balance the, you know, we want any account to be able to play fairly, but we want to stop all the accounts that are like, you know, clearly just rigging this thing. Okay, so I'm actually going to go keep moving on. I forgot that we have Steamdan here because he's not on video, and it looks like Doogie just popped in too. So I want to make sure that I get to Zoogie, and then we also have Kay. So I got 3 more people, so I got to hop off. It's okay though. There's only like 1 page of questions, so you know the question portion is going to be a little bit short. So I know I'm running over, and I'm okay with this. But let's do Doogie. And Doogie, I want to, because you were just on last week, I want to keep this one a little bit short, unless you have something major you want to dive into. But I want to give you a little bit of time to tell us what's up. Doogie, you want to do a quick intro and then tell us what's on your brain?
Sure, why not? I'll totally say, like, I did not show up to hijack anything. I just figured, like, oh, hey, I'll pop around and be here to help answer questions. But hey, I'm Andrew. I go by Doogie. I'm the VP of Project Management here, and my general focus in life is to help make sure that we're targeting and like attacking all of our different projects and goals on time, on target. And yeah, I'm here to mostly remove barriers and other challenges for the rest of the team.
All right, you're you kind of own the Tech 360 along with Hardpoint. and that's kind of like our product roadmap. That thing should be going in front of the board on Thursday. And then after Thursday, hopefully, I don't know how much we'll have to do to get it slightly cleansed so that it can go in front of the public. But I want to push as much of that out there as possible sometime after Thursday. Does that still seem like a reasonable timeline? Are we going to be able to get an updated roadmap out kind of this month?
Absolutely. Like, the way that I've been looking at it is, we've built Hardpoint, and I built this along with basically all of the team, right? Like, it's not just me coming up with stuff. It's us taking the input from all our different team members and trying to really like condense everything that's happened across our company within, a couple slides, which is always hard to do, right? And one of the things that we've been talking about and I've been working on personally is making sure, like, hey, we've got here's the update and how we publish it to go up to you guys and the board level, followed by here's a version for the company, because we have so many different people from so many different groups, so many different time zones that it's hard to keep up with all the different things that we've got going on. So we're trying to make sure that we can get that out across the company. And then, yeah, absolutely. It's one of our goals to make sure that we can have a public version that we can share with the community. And then you guys can all challenge us and help us challenge ourselves to stay on time and help keep getting all of our different projects accomplished.
I guess the biggest thing is any project falling behind expectations? Is there any major piece where you're like looking at the tech roadmap and being like, oh God, I'm worried about telling this one to the community? Are we falling off anywhere big?
No. The one of the biggest things that's on my mind right now is we've got a newer VP of engineering that's onboarding, and I'm super stoked to have PJ on the team. He's got a wealth of knowledge and a lot of really good resources and connections that can help us grow as a company. And so right now it's more of a like, we're still on time, we're still on target to achieve all of the goals that we've got so far. And then I'm just excited to get more team members onboarded and just rocking out with us so that we can keep crushing out goals and continue to make the game and all of our other projects better.
Awesome. All right, we're going to stop there. I'm going to go hop over to Steamdan, and then Kay, you're up next. Steamdan, welcome to the show. I think this might be your first time on air. Is that correct?
Hi, Aggie. Yes, that is correct. How you doing?
All right. Do you want to give a quick introduction to who you are? Maybe tell us. You've been here for like ever, so maybe you can tell us about how much of an OG you are, and then kind of tell us what you do around here.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Hey, everyone. I am Dan, and I'm a community moderator or a mod for our Discord server and also for our Telegram official channels.
Then how long have you been around?
Yeah, I've been involved with the game and its community since the very start, especially with the Hispanic or the Spanish-spoken community. It was my first CCG or trading card game with in-game battles, so I knew I couldn't let this opportunity pass,
So tell me a little bit about what the day in the life of a mod looks like.
Well, I feel I'm responsible for our community ways of interacting, whether it's on Twitter, Discord, Telegram. I'm always looking for anything that could mean an improvement or help towards real and honest communication with people. So no matter if you're new, if you're an OG, looking for something you can find or anything you want to know, if you want to join a tournament, if you have any complaint or any doubt at all, it's our responsibility to serve as this link between the community and the game itself.
So one of the complaints that I hear or I fear, or there's some kind of common perception. I don't know if they have this in all countries, but in the United States, we have this thing called the hall monitor. And so, like, if you're in elementary school and you want to go to the bathroom, you raise your hand, you get like a pass, and then you're able to go to the restroom. And if you sneak out of class somehow and you're in the halls, there's oftentimes like another student that's in there that's called the hall monitor that's like watching over the halls to make sure that delinquent kids aren't in there. So like I when I think of how the position is sometimes like called derogatory names, or people that get really angry at the mods, they're like, you guys are a bunch of hall monitors. And like, do you see yourself primarily as a hall monitor? Do you feel like you're here to just like enforce whims and whatever you're feeling? Or like, how do you deal with people that are sort of like outside the lines of what you're looking for from members?
Yeah, so I think it's definitely a hard spot for us to be there, but at the same time, it shows that we're really committed to the community. So we're not looking to enforce any rule, but this is something that we've been building towards the years, so it's not something that we just go along with as it presents itself, but it's more that we try to maintain communication levels on a regular size, and it's honestly, I know we may seem like this enforced police people that are always around, but at the end, we're just part of the community. We're all players. We're just trying to make stuff happen, and we've endured all this journey that Splinterlands is, with passion and commitment.
Awesome. What is there anything that like makes you really want to be doing this here? Like what do you think is special about Splinterlands or Steam Monsters that makes you want to be involved in this specific community?
Well, for once, I am a bit nervous because I haven't spoken English in maybe 3-4 years this long. So I've improved my English because I'm a native Spanish speaker. So I improved my English talking with the community, interacting with you. I can in one day be talking to you, and on the next one I'll be talking to 10 new players that are just coming new, straight fresh to the game. So it's definitely it's been a great experience to be able to say, hey, I'm turning 4 years with this new game that it still feels as new as it was on the day one, but it's honestly a great feeling to be a part of this, and to proudly say I'm a part of the community and that I've been here for a long time now.
Yeah, I should ask you the standard question. You sound funny. Are you from Oklahoma? Where are you from?
Yeah, I'm from Oklahoma.
Okay, fair enough. Well, yeah, nobody has to actually dox where they're from. But anyways, I'm glad you're here, Steamdan. Thanks for having been here, like literally for forever. I think you were like one of the first members of this freaking Discord. So glad you're here. Glad that you're working with us. Glad that you're supporting this community, and appreciate the work that you and the mods do.
Thank you, and cheers, everyone. Have a blast.
All right, so we've just done a fair amount of speaking about all things Splinterlands, and that this is kind of one of the first times that we're going to go deviate away from that a little bit. And I want to go talk to Kay. Kay, can you introduce yourself, and then maybe we can talk a little bit about what project you're on, and at least at a high level what we're doing.
Sure. What would you like to know? I'm Kay. I'm on the marketing team, and I guess you're going to get into what we're working on.
Well, we're gonna dance around it a little bit because people are, I don't know, we can't say exactly everything that we're doing here, but I guess what we're working on the Warner Music Group stuff together and thinking through music and music games. Do you want to give any kind of background? Like, I personally picked you out of the crowd and I said that's the person that I want to be here and helping us to lead this kind of like this music project. So do you want like a lot of that to me was around the sort of like music production and pieces that you were doing there. Do you want to kind of like talk about some of the work that you were doing and how you've been involved here in Steam and Hive and decentralized music?
Yeah, I mean, so the backdrop is that I've been involved in the entertainment world my whole adult life. I worked with a record label out of the UK, and the woman I worked with was a prominent manager for a major pop star in the late 90s. So kind of been around the block there and know that world very well and do a lot of creative things myself. And then I stumbled into the cryptocurrency world in 2017 and met you pretty soon after that through the community there, which was amazing. I mean, as a musician, to stumble into a place where people are so authentically engaged with excellence was phenomenal to me. So from the get-go, I just loved that whole universe. And I always joke because I think I'm one of the last people who would have stumbled into cryptocurrency and the blockchain. But I'm very happy I did, because it's the coolest little rabbit trail on the internet. So
what, like, we can't get too specific here, but maybe like in your brain, what is the benefit of dragging in a company like Warner into like this ecosystem? There might be some legitimate criticism that, hey, this is a distraction from all things Splinterlands. I guess as you think through the project that we're working on, like, why do you think that taking on this project makes sense, not just for us as a business, but for this community in particular?
yeah, well, it's been interesting because as we're revving things up for the things with Warner, I've been doing a fair amount just on the Splinterlands side too. And I would think that a lot of people know that one of the challenges is sort of the legitimizing to the outside world. So for example, someone like me ended up on the blockchain, but I'm not the kind of person who normally ends up on the blockchain, right? And for a number of reasons, things happened such that I was swept up into it. But I think that one of the major benefits from going with a company like Warner is it's hugely legitimizing to the whole space and to the company as a whole, because you've got this, weather-worn company that is still at the frontier of what's going on creatively in entertainment. And if they're rubber stamping a partnership with us, that's really substantive in terms of what bringing around sort of the rest of the culture in the world to just the cryptocurrency space generally, and then especially with the things that Splinterlands is working on. I think it's enormously legitimizing that way. It's huge.
Beyond just legitimizing, do you think, is this a way, do you think it's a distraction from Splinterlands, or do you think that we can use this project to bring people in for music to like get a glimpse of Splinterlands that wouldn't?
Totally. I think everybody needs a way in that resonates with them initially. And I think through that, a lot of people then just become very interested in a lot of other aspects. So if we're doing this project with Warner and you're attracting a lot of musicians, many of whom normally wouldn't be drawn into this world, I think very quickly it's a natural step to start looking into what else you guys are working on and what we're working on here. And so I think that's a very natural way to bring a lot more people in.
And one thing I'd add about that is, like, if your Hive account gets you into all these things, it's single sign-on, right? Like, if you're in Splinterlands and you want to go do this Warner thing, you just log in the exact same way. And if you're in the Warner thing and you want to check out this other game because somehow these two communities start colliding, you there's not like a separate registration. You have your username, you have your login, and you're good to go.
Yeah, because I think that's the thing, is you have to give people their initial motivation to climb that hill of like understanding what they're getting into. But once they've done that, if it's all interconnected, I think a lot of people are really excited about a lot of different aspects of it, and they've already done the legwork, to sort of onboard when that happens. So for sure.
And my brain tells me that, like, I come from a sales and marketing background. And then I did sales for a big publishing company. And when I did that, we had like software and textbooks that we would do in earth science, then chemistry, then physics, then biology. And like, what we would do is usually like find one of these big colleges and be like, okay, we get them just one of our books. And then after that, you start working with other people in other departments and be like, well, these guys are already using our book here. Would you like to use our book there? Here's some package deals that we could offer you that might make that make sense. And it's if you're already having a rep fly to that campus and they're already wandering around, it's really not that much more work for them to not only visit the chemistry department, but also visit the biology department. And one of my thoughts here, as I'm thinking through this with Splinterlands and having more than one product, my vision for this is something like, we get a guild, like a YGG kind of guild, and they come on board and they love our game and they like our community and they like our folks and they like the games that we play. And now I can rather than having to go find, brand new customers every single time for every single product. I mean, hopefully I can turn around and be like, dude, it's great that you're really into Splinterlands. Could I also interest you in this music product? And then if we do kind of like casual games, I could ask, could I also interest you in this casual product? Or if we do sports games, I could say, good sir, could I interest you in this sports product? And they may not take us up on all of them, but I think there's a way that we could do, kind of think of them as an institutional, purchaser or account, and really be able to leverage having multiple products. And I think what I really think is something like, all these guilds have to go cater to. You have a scholar, and the scholar has an 8-hour workday, and you want them playing for that whole time. And so maybe they could play some of our competitors' games for like an hour or two. They could just play Splinterlands for an hour or two. And then you're left with 3 to 5 more hours of work. And what the hell are they going to do? And again, if we can interest them in not only Splinterlands, but Warner, but casual and sports, we could really fill an 8-hour day of a scholar by playing these games. Do you think that's a pipe dream, or do you think that resonates with, do you think the musicians and the scholars that might be here could be like, I will supplement my music income with some Splinterlands too?
Yeah, I think that's an absolute no-brainer almost. I mean, it's if someone's already invested in the space and they want to be, pouring out their time for that, and it's obviously so beneficial, there's so much to hinge right into so easily. And I think it's just such a natural fit to go to see what else is going on and go with that, I think for sure.
I think the next time you come on, we have to get a guitar and some vocals and be like, go run through the old days of like, here's some more, here's some sounds of Steam.
Sorry?
Sounds of Splinterlands, sure. Here's some music from Asmire, or Asmary. So
I've got some ideas. Got some ideas. So
yeah. Okay. Well, Kay, thanks for coming on. Thanks for talking to us. I think that kind of covers everybody here from the team I wanted to talk through. I'm going to go switch to the pre-sorted questions. So whoever is going to be posting them, it looks like Reality is doing that tonight. But if you could go post the questions so that everybody can follow along at home, and then once we go through, it's only a page, so this should be pretty quick, and we should have something like 15 to 20 minutes for just community questions. All right, so decentralization. What is the ultimate goal for decentralization? Would you like the game to be completely decentralized where voters can change literally anything in the game? Or will some decisions never be available to SBS holder regardless of the level of support? So, this is a really complicated ecosystem that has something like, there are stakeholders and there is a decentralized game, but there's also a centralized business. There's a C Corp that's an American C Corp. And so it's not like the voters will necessarily be able to choose everything that the C Corp does. But, I think our goal is to get to the point where the game itself or huge parts of the game, maybe every part of it. But yeah, I mean, it's sort of like, the Bitcoin nodes can go vote on what version, or the Hive witnesses can vote on what version. I really see the starting with validators, but ultimately the entire code is something that I want the validators and the SBS stakeholders to choose. Although if there are parts that like impact us as a business, then that's not going to be fair to us or anybody else. So there's like a mix there. Yeah, maybe Kay can do an outro. That way she has 20 minutes to prepare. We'll see. I'm not going to force that on air. That was kind of like. Anyways, guilds. Will the distribution of phrase be revisited? There's a heavy focus on older all edition gold phrase, while most players have regular foil chaos cards. Only a small percentage of guilds can actually field teams for all phrase. I think that's you, WeirdBeard. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is on the docket. I don't know the exact fix for it yet because we've had this other project kind of on the plate. But what I will say is that one of the biggest things we've heard from issues with brawls and frays and the general like guild ecosystem currently is that there's plateaus, right? Like people are hitting those plateaus, and then you go, "Well, why don't you go up?" And they go, "It just doesn't make any sense." So I feel like we have to be able to find a way to like make more people enter into tournaments like this and a phrase like this, and not kind of be bogged down with just like, oh, do you have gold cards? No, okay, well then I'm not going to enter. Like we have to figure out what's the psychological reason that makes people want to enter, even if they have to rent cards or go up, or it's not just about the rewards themselves.
The latest SBS release mentioned SBS for guild brawls. Is there an estimated time frame for this? Anybody have that on their radar? I know it's on the. Mancer wants to answer.
So I've had a little bit of discussion with Matt about that, and we kind of have a plan for how the SPS rewards are going to work, but not really a clear time frame for implementing it yet. It's something that we definitely want to get to sooner rather than later, but we gotta get through the Modern and Wild rollout first before we really start getting into that.
Yeah, it's coming. It's probably a couple months away, but I don't know. I'm hoping it's here by the end of the year. If not, like sometime between Q3 and Q4, or like in that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd expect it before the end of the year for sure. I mean, it's not going to be a real huge project. We just kind of have to find some time to slot it into the roadmap somewhere.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right. Will there be any replacement incentive for collection power holders when the SBS airdrop ends to prevent card prices from crashing? Anybody want to take a shot at that?
I mean, I don't think that we're planning to do anything in particular around that when the SPS airdrop ends, and I don't know if prices are gonna crash or not. I mean, the market will do what the market does and what it always has done. I think things are gonna be just fine.
Yeah, I mean, my general financial advice is you guys need to keep some dry powder handy, and you guys need to have some card assets and some other different assets, and who knows what the market's going to do on any given day. Be smart, kind of follow pretty standard advice. Don't buy more than you can afford, and don't put your rent money into this. Make smart decisions, but I don't know. Just because the airdrop stops. I mean, when the airdrop stops, and there's going to be various ways that you can earn SBS, but it's going to be less than what's going out now. And there's like a ton of different factors in there to sort of consider and try to figure out. So I don't know. I don't think it's as clear cut as, oh, SBS airdrop ends, therefore price crashes. I mean, that's always a possibility, but I think the ecosystem is more complicated than that. Rewards. Will the new system allow us to see which cards are ghost cards in our lineup selection so that we know to avoid them unless we feel it's necessary?
Just the other day, I saw some chatter about that amongst the development team. So I think that is something that we're considering. Not sure if that's going to be in the very first initial release or not, but okay, Investigator says yes, it will. So yeah, they're on top of things.
Devs to the rescue from chat. Thanks for being here. All right. Will the new reward cards have the same print rate as the last set? Will there be any difference in distribution? Example, legendary can only be obtained in gold chests or higher. Have we talked about reward distributions anywhere?
sure of the full details of that myself.
Yeah, that's usually like a last minute decision. So, like, even if I knew the number today and we weren't releasing it for 3 months, I would not say it. I used to say things like that, and Matt would yell at me and say I was wrong for doing it. And ultimately, like, we have to look at the market conditions at the time that we're doing this. If we come up with a plan now and 6 months from now, the game 10x's because all these changes come live and it's awesome, then we would do a different amount. So rather than tell you the amount now, I'm not going to do that. You can be frustrated at me. I don't actually know the number. I'm not sure anybody knows the number, but until it's time to put more reward cards in, we won't actually know what we're going to do. But once we do it, then we'll do everything in our power that we can to stick with it. You know, as long as there's not like exploits, we really try to leave the things that we've done out there. I've definitely pissed off Matt at times. And he does, you know, he's actually shouted at me a couple times. You know, this is just part of aggro being tank. All right, trying to complete a quest is more difficult than simply trying to win battles. It feels like the new reward system will punish those playing for the leaderboard who aren't willing to sacrifice wins to use specific Splinter's card types. Are there any concerns about the new system making the game less competitive and more just about farming quests? Anybody want to take that one on?
Trade-offs and decisions you have to make about how you want to strategize and play the game, right? Like, do you want to focus some more on your quests, or do you want to focus more on getting to the top of the leaderboard? You have to decide what your own particular play style is and what your goals are for things. So I think it's good that people have to make those sorts of agonizing decisions and strategize in certain ways.
Yeah, it's not even like that's your only concern. It's not like I aggroed playing Tender Shepherd. I'm the only one that has to make that call. It's sort of like, you know, everybody has to go deal with the winds and how the winds are blowing, right? You got your own vessel. You have to go captain your own ship and figure out what you got to do. You know, I think that there's some fair elements to this question, but you know, that's part of the overall strategy of the meta game. The actual game is winning Splinterlands battles and rewards. The meta game is trying to figure out how to put as little capital to use to maximize your earnings while putting as little time in here as possible to get the biggest bang for your buck. That's the meta game, as far as I can tell. Maybe there's others, but that's the big meta. And this is just sort of like one pretty sophisticated question about playing in the meta. Bots. What is the assessment on how hiding names has impacted win trading? We can see that it is still happening between bot farms. Do you have data showing if this decreased the amount, though? Are there plans for more changes? So I don't think our data is good enough yet. So I don't know. Hopefully this we talked about this some earlier in the show, and hopefully this will get some questions moving along. All right, we're almost out of these. So these are suggestions and requests. And before I even read what the suggestions and requests are, just keep in mind that there's feedback.splinterlands.com, and that's a pretty good place to do it. Can you please make the daily quest for new rewards easier? Maybe introduce dual elements like Earth Fire Quest, or make it play with X element regardless of whether you win. I think this kind of change can bring greater experience to new players. Man, that's a pretty big like change from what we're doing. You know, when the new changes come out, I think we'll have to look at, you know, how are rewards going, and something like that could actually be on the roadmap, and we could figure out, is this necessary or not. But at this point, there's no way that I could say, oh, that's necessary. We have other changes that we think are higher priority that we're putting in, and we'll just have to see how those look. But that's not something I can say yes or no to now. It's just something that I would say, let's see how all this stuff plays out, and then I'm happy to go consider it. All right. I like the anonymous enemy scream, but could I at least know how much rank they have and still have it remain anonymous? Well, every time you put in more details like that, you are, you know, potentially getting more info. You know, maybe we could put a range in there for what their general range is, but I don't think it should be a number. Anybody want to add thoughts to that?
I mean, I think that's.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think that's kind of some of the problem right now. Is some of these bots can use some of this information that's given, even though there's no name there, to still find out who they're playing. So yeah, the more information you have, the easier it is for bots that we've talked about already.
Yep, I'd agree with that. And I'd also say this is not the end all be all solution. It's just one more step in the right direction. And we have some things that we're going to try improving on and ways to make that even better as we go along.
Should you stop teasing new features until they are almost ready? Almost everything has been delayed multiple times, and it makes people lose confidence in what the team is building. No, I really think that it's important to sort of talk through what our pipeline is. And honestly, I think we're moving at a faster clip than people understand. And you guys are going to start experiencing that pretty soon. I mean, the rank rewards are going to drop, then mild and modern is going to drop. And then we're going to decouple all these things by introducing the tech modernization, which really frees up developers to drop new things on top, which then leads into lands. I mean, I think the end of this year is going to be jam packed. Oh, and don't forget validator nodes. You guys are going to be swimming in changes. Nobody's going to be asking me, "Are you sure that we ought to talk about it?" You guys are going to be asking, like, "What the hell just did you release? This changed everything. Wait, you just did another one? Do we really have to go this fast?" And I don't know. My guess is that we're going to go from one team sort of putting stuff out to like you guys are going to be drinking from the fire hose. And so I don't know. We'll see.
The other thing too is publicly stating what you're doing is a way to hold not only the team members accountable, but to set like firm deadlines, right? The more that a company internally just talks to itself about setting dates and whatnot, the can will continue to get kicked and get kicked and get kicked and get kicked. The moment that we put something out into the world, it's alive. It's a thing, right? So every time that something gets delayed, it's not like it just hits us and we go, "Oh, we're just going to delay this. Don't worry." Like it gets hard to do that sort of a thing. So like putting things out there is like when you tell yourself like, "Hey, I'm going to go to the gym today." Just telling yourself doesn't do too much. If I start telling like my girlfriend and my parents and everybody I know, "Hey, I'm going to the gym," they're going to be like, "Hey, fatso, when did you go to the gym today?" Like you have to start being able to create that rapport, right? Of publicly setting expectations to hold yourself accountable so that when we do delay it, we feel the pain, because then when we delay, we go back and be like, "Oh my God, I hate the fact that we had to delay that," and not just be like, whatever. They don't know that we're kicking this can down the road, another 6 months or so.
Yeah, I also, to me, the answer is not report less. The answer is actually report more. So, like, devs don't really move at a pace where everything changes in a week. Most development cycles take like longer than that to go get any kind of appreciable movement in terms of like, what percentage work done has happened. So I think, maybe if we're really cruising, maybe I would do like a roadmap update every 2 weeks. But honestly, I think the trick to dealing with the expectation management is not to like stop reporting. It's to do a better job getting our roadmap out and sort of where we're at. And this month is literally month 2 of getting the roadmap out. So let's go give this a couple times, like the first. Let's get the first one out, or the first edit, or the first like where are we in this out, and see what happens when we're reporting on this kind of routinely to give everybody. So just you guys got to manage your expectations that we will get out roadmap updates every month, and you guys can see the changes that we're anticipating. The big one I was asking, do you think that anything is grossly off track? And so far the answer is no. So hopefully we're going to be sticking with our rough timelines and hopefully continue to narrow in on where we're going.
I'll say this too, like it was to me like just a little bit funny, but Hardpoint had in the town hall we did a couple weeks ago, like he released the roadmap, and then after town hall and the next day, based on like where the teams were at and how things were progressing, like we were already making changes to the roadmap. And I was like, son of a gun. Like it's one of those where we're trying to be as detailed and intricate and share as much as we possibly can, but then at the same time, like, we're adapting so quickly to the things coming in that it's also one of those, like, every time we publish something, we don't want it to be like immediately out of date. And so we're still working on that, but the team's absolutely working hard on trying to make sure that we can take care and accomplish all the goals that we have in line.
And then it's asking, what are your thoughts on a 2v2 or other alternate battle mode? The next one I want to get out is boss fights. And 2v2 is fine. I'm good with trying to think through, multiplayer battles.
I want a tournament. I want a multiplayer, like I've put this in the every time it's come up for 4 weeks now. I want Capcom versus Marvel. I want to be able to tag in my boy after I go in and I beat him up, and then you come and finish it. Like, that tournament kicks ass. I want it today. I want it. We just can't make it yet, but I hope we can do it soon.
Well, we gotta get stuff like land doesn't even exist, right?
Yeah.
So like we gotta get the land out so that you guys can put like a trillion. Actually, this gets back to like the utility question. Like, well, when the airdrop's over, aren't card prices just gonna drop because nobody wants them? Like, hey, have you met land? Land has 150,000 plots, and all those plots are gonna need a bunch of monsters. So you have some X factor of 150,000 to consider. And oh, by the way, you probably want them to be max level. So for common, it's some X factor of 150,000 times 505. That's how many cards we are yanking out of this ecosystem. And to go work land and be on farms, and there you'll get your resources, and there's some SBS that's in there too. I'm not too worried about the airdrop ending. There's going to be other ways that you guys can earn in this. But yeah, 2v2 is amazing. We should get it out there. But there's a whole bunch of modes. I have like a Voltron mode where like you have to go combine multiple cards to make sort of like a super robot card that's going to fight. Like I think that would be pretty fun. So there's ideas out here. There's stuff. All right, we got 15 minutes left. Beth, oh, there we go. Bulldog, let's do the thing. These are anything going. So is Nate okay with the Rona? Yeah, maybe he got the coof. I don't know. But he was sick today. He can't be here today, and hopefully he'll be here soon. Question: the white paper says that there are SBS rewards for the liquidity providers. When will that go in the mix? Will it start up right after the airdrop ends? If it doesn't, there isn't much of a benefit for people to stay in the pool. Having a ton of liquidity in that pool is a good feather in our cap for marketing purposes. I think Matt mentioned that in the post today. So yeah, take a look at that. I think he was talking about it starting relatively soon thereafter. What are your thoughts on the Bored Ape land sale? Well, they sold $320 million, so kudos on that. I don't know. It's weird, man. Like, Ethereum kills me because on the one hand, like if you want to make money, you have to be on Ethereum. Like that, Matt and I would be like 10 times richer if we had just built this damn thing on Ethereum. But that's not our objective. Like I don't do this every day being like, I'm going to be rich. That's my main motivation. No, my main motivation is to spread peace, prosperity, and freedom. And I want to mainstream that. I don't want like a couple rich whales. I mean, I do. I want tons of whales getting rich in my game, but that's not why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this to make me a freaking fortune. I'm doing this because I want the damn world to change. And what that showed me is like, okay, great, $320 million, largely from people that could afford like burning 2 ETH and spending 10 ETH. That is not like a project for the people. That's not going to help some Filipino kid like live a better life. Like it's not going to be like, here's some kid from the Bronx and we're going to go help them. That's like rich whales getting richer and doing cool stuff in whaledom. So like kudos, and there's nothing wrong with that. I want a world where things like that exist. It is infinitely better that it exists than it doesn't. But that's not the number one goal here. the number one goal is to make sure that like every single person on this planet, if they want to participate in the blockchain, have a really simple game that they can get involved in and learn about and participate in. And maybe like the game has lots of richness, so it's not, you know, I don't want it too simple, but I want it to be some meaty game that you can come, you can play, you can earn, and that's available for everybody. Question: can I borrow some DEC to level up my guild so my guildies can spend their DEC on cards? Actually, Matt has talked a whole bunch about building a lending contract into this, so that kind of like I think it's MakerDAO, where you're like staking tokens and you are getting back, you know, DAI as part of that. Like, we want to be able to do stuff like that with DEC, where you're like, you know, giving your cards to the smart contract and being able to take out loans against them. I don't know when that'll hit. It's probably not. It might not even be this year, but we want way more DeFi built into our game, and that's one of the places that we're thinking of. King Matt, I'll start by saying I love the games and goals of Splinterlands now and into the future. I know an increasing player base would be ideal, but is the current player base enough to comfortably support Splinterlands through their day-to-day operations and new additions? If not, how long would Splinterlands, the company, be willing to support Splinterlands, a game, if it experiences a long period of stagnant or decreasing player counts? I think I have at least 2 to 3 years of like stockpiled cash in case things go really bad. You know, like, it's probably not Splinterlands just starts dying. It would be something like Bitcoin halves again from where we are. And, you know, people are, you know, we have some other recession in America, or the world is experiencing, you know, some trade deficit inspired downfall, and everybody has less cash around. You know, in those circumstances, our game still has money, and we're still here, we're still operating, and, you know, hopefully releasing some of these other products and doing some financial things with big entities are the kinds of things that will make sure that, you know, there's basically nothing that'll take us out. Are there going to be new game modes? Yes. If Nate gets a dog, he has to name it Nate Dog. That's hilarious. Question: when is the last time anyone from the core team have opened a new account and played a couple of days in Novice or Bronze? Playing as a new player with just starter cards to actually see the whole bot situation feels for a new player might be eye-opening. If it's been a long time, I challenge you to just complete the daily. You know, we have brand new people coming into this business all the time, and like this question at its core seems to imply that nobody here cares. And what I'd really like to address is that the core team has spent like the last 3 months really trying to revamp ranked rewards, and we're about to get this thing out. So rather than asking this question, which really seems to come from a perspective of, do you guys even notice or care about this? My response is something like, hey, dude, we just completely revitalized and reworked how this stuff works. And if you can be patient for what I think it's supposed to be at the end of this month or early next, that this stuff comes out, just hang with us a little bit longer, because we've redone everything so that it fixed.
Also, one of the other big things too is like in marketing, this is what we do is we constantly are onboarding new people into the novice and bronze leagues, right? Like when we're reaching out and trying to get people like, you know, large content creators to even know what Splinterlands is, right? And we walk them through the process. It's not something that we just go, oh, hey, here, come on into gold and diamond. Like I talk more about bronze and novice league than I do any of the upper level stuff, which isn't great, but like it's that we understand that there's pain points in there, but you can't. It's like the base bottom blocks, right, of everything else that's built on that. It's the gateway. It's the very first thing you see when you come in the game. We know how important it is, especially for a brand new player who's coming in at the very first time. It's just again, like I said earlier, it's not like a come on forehead, like just think of what you're doing. I think we understand the problem. It's how do we solve the problem, which is a much trickier question to try to get into.
All right, Cryptomancer just posted some costs. So if you would like to have your transaction move, this is USDT, so it's not Ethereum itself. This is like smart contract movement. All you have to do is pay $375, and you too can get your transaction to go through. I mean, this is what drives me nuts about Ethereum and gas-based things. You know, like how do you do that? Okay, well, I have this. I have 10 common cards I'd like to sell, and I guess I'll sell them individually. So I'd like my 10 cents, and all I have to do is pay $3,750 to be able to sell those 10 cards. Like that, this stuff makes zero sense to me. So, like, of course, anything on Ethereum is like sky high. So maybe that's cool, and maybe there's some awesomeness. Honestly, kudos to those guys. They got 320 million, but it also like more or less broke Ethereum for everybody else. I don't know. I like being where we are. I think the money will come with, like, especially as we showcase just how big of an audience we can really collect here. So it takes some more work. We still got some ways to go, but I'm happy. All right. Question: will gold foil gladiator cards and brawls ever have some sort of bonus in brawls, similar to the 10% in DEC rank rewards, or are they just more for bringing in gladiators into gold foil brawls?
I
So
mean,
right now we're not planning to do anything around the gold foil gladiators that way. It's always something we could consider in the future. And we want gladiators to maybe have some benefits for lands as well. So those are some discussions we've been having.
yeah, a lot of that also comes down to understanding what are the issues in brawls overall right now. Like the last thing that we should realistically be talking about is like making brawls really big and adding a whole bunch of cool brawls and doing all this kind of stuff, because it's like, yeah, that sounds cool, but then people are pissed because we haven't fixed the initial issues with brawls and the things that people don't like about it right now. So it's like we have to get our house in order and make sure we get the problems that people are facing with like going up in power and tier right now before we start talking about adding specialty brawls that may not benefit like more than 50-60% of the people competing.
Question: do we have a date for validator node licenses? It's supposed to be at the end of this month. We'll see if that happens, but I think it should. I think we're close. This guy's asking, who does he reach out to go get a vote for his post? So there's not really like a group that we want people reaching out to. Just keep posting. And eventually the curators will find you if the posts are good. Maybe the curators can go post some kind of requirements of what they're looking for or what they want to see. Is there a firm date on the release of validator nodes later this month? Rift Watchers, I don't think it has quite as firm of a deadline, but maybe Q3 or Q4. It should be out before the end of the year. Chaos Legion does not sell out by the end of the year, will prevent future sets from being released. Yes, I don't expect to sell Rebellion until Chaos Legion is done. All right. Checking this one. Question: are we wondering for the people the continued push for exposure will bring? With the current state of the game, is Splinterlands ready for actual exposure and the magnifying glass it will come with? I would love it, don't get me wrong, but with the new player experience being what it is and botting being what it is, what if those new players don't like playing a novice the way that the current player base does? These new gamers will just leave a new negative review and go on if they don't like the experience, or if the updates don't happen fast enough for them. Will the new player base that will be coming in be addressed, as their opinion will shape the entirety of Splinterlands optics in Web 2? I mean, that's, again, why we're doing the rank rewards, is trying to make sure that everybody is having a good experience. Let's go see how that goes before figuring out next steps.
It also may be interesting to have a tournament mode that focuses on beginners and would make it very accessible to people who are new to the game. Just say. Maybe that's a thing we can talk about internally.
What did you say to make Yava yell at him, or make him yell at me? I mean, I don't know. He's probably yelled at me a dozen times over the past 4 years. So
only a dozen.
Yeah, sometimes it's me not really understanding just how much work goes into a certain development. Sometimes it's like, we're arguing around priorities. Sometimes life is just stressful, and Matt needs somebody to yell at, and he picks me. I don't know. He's like my brother. These are life problems that we share together. Question: is there a firm release date of the Validator knows or Rift Watchers? Did he repeat that question? I don't like it when people repeat questions. All right. Any other questions in here? I think we got to the end of questions, and we only have 2 minutes left. This is fantastic. Look, guys, this is it's an incredible community we have. It's an incredible game we have. There are parts of other things out there that are really exciting, and I really do believe that Matt and I have missed out on a fair chunk of cash by building here and not building on Ethereum in particular. And I think about that quite a bit. And in the short term, I think we have given up a fair amount of value and assets. But again, I just want to remind people what the long-term vision is. We want to build a decentralized game that our players get to own, that we continue to be like a major community member of and develop for. But like we want this game to really belong to the SPS stakeholders and the people that are running validators and helping make this game function. And to get there, we want to be here. We want to be present. We want to work together. And we don't just want this to be a cool opportunity for a handful of, millionaires and billionaires. We really want this to impact, to us, social impact matters. And we want from the smallest minnow to the biggest whale to be able to partake, so that literally we all go to the same moon. Anybody that wants to participate, anybody that wants to has an opportunity to. And, in our game, we have cards that rent for fractions of pennies. And, I'd like to capture more of that Ethereum whale money, but it's not as big of a priority to me as making sure that everybody in the world that chooses to participate can. And, hopefully you guys are gonna participate with that and like that. And hopefully, you guys appreciate that when you move your cards, there's not a $375 fee to go trade something. Some of that is just crazy. Anyways, I guess my last thought is that Q3 and Q4 are going to be lit. Between validator sales, the kind of like improved interface, or the upgraded tech for just how we develop Splinterlands, so that the teams can all function simultaneously, to getting out Modern and Wild, to all the kind of upgraded features. Hopefully we'll have a couple extra products that will be out here that are exciting. Man, I just think I think there's a million awesome things that are happening, and I'm glad you guys are here, and hopefully you guys are remaining as excited as I am and stoked for it. Anybody dying to say something before we go? Hearing none. Let's call it about that. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for playing our game. Thanks for caring. And we'll be here next week to go tell y'all about all of what we're doing and where it's landing. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.